Well, feel compelled to do one more update on silver because I know it's fell into the 18 range, and it really is. The Stilleto call is the devil's metal for nothing, but 18 and 19 is another big level. You all know that. I also want to point out though, which people think they got the predictions right before, because there's been people that were always talking about a pullback when silver was going up from, say, the end of August 2010 all the way up to the end of April 2011. They were talking pullback in October 2010, pullback in November 2010. In other words, their message is always pullback. But there's other things going on besides Ben Bernanke's statements. About hinting about the taper, whatever the hell you want, the taper of QE. There's other things going on. It looks like China may miss its growth forecast, which I think they're bullshit anyway, but it's going to officially miss their growth forecast since the first time since like 1998. Since they had the Asian crisis, and Japan entered the lost decade and all that kind of garbage. And also China talked about, they think they were like there was a liquidity crunch, and the central bank came out and said that they're not going to do nothing about it. There isn't that much of a liquidity crunch, so it caused the markets to go down a lot over there. And also, I've been hearing stories about in China, and this might be BS, but some kind of bank freeze-ups where people can't get their money out. So maybe there is more of a liquidity crunch going on than anything. So, that's kind of food for thought. Also want to point out something back in 2008 and 2009. When we had the financial crisis, what went down first? Commodities, didn't it? It was the commodities first, and everybody in the stocks was like, "Oh yeah, you should sell stocks, you should keep stocks," and then they got hit, right? I don't think I think I'm not sure about where silver's going to go to, because it's I was talking about the fuel price and stuff like that very much is an influence on the operating cost of silver, but I guess you really can't figure that in because it's more of an electronic thing. It's not really has to do with how much it's costing the mines to produce silver. It has to do with what's going on in the markets. It's a liquidity crunch, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go down to the super low rates of 812 or something like that. But also I'm going to say this. This is one thing on my mind because I'm going to say this. It's kind of like a philosophical type thing. I'm not really like anti-religious or spiritual. I'm anti-religious amongst those people that keep quoting stuff out of the Bible left and right, like I gotta like they know more than anybody in the world. I'm against that kind of stuff, and I've noticed that when there's silver predictions, there's extremists on both ends. Like you had real religious people talking about, oh, the fiat government is all bad and the Federal Reserve is horrible and silver's going to go to the moon. They're wrong because they kept predicting at least $100 anytime soon. And then they got these other religious people that say fiat is the best thing in the world. It's unsafe to be in silver, so silver's going to go to $8 to $12. I kind of tend both of those are extremes. $100 is extreme, and $8 to $12 is extreme. But I'm not betting a farm on silver. I'm pretty heavy into it for sure, but I'm going to actually get a little bit more, just a little bit, and physical, and wait. It could be the same pattern as last year, like the bottom hits around July, and then they start talking here. They don't have to actually start doing QE, because you remember, like, why did the silver go down and partly why did the commodities get hit and the markets get hit? It wasn't because they stopped QE. It was because they hinted about stopping QE next year. So if they start hinting about starting QE even harder next year, it'll make it go up. It'll have an immediate reaction. So that's one thing I want to point out. But just remember, silver, back to last financial crisis, it went down a lot. the commodities went down a lot first, and then the real estate market, the other things followed. Oh, also, real estate right now is in a major bubble, I think. That's another area. And you notice, like, Fabian or somebody's, like, pushing that crap right now. I don't think that's a smart thing at all. So, silver is a wild animal, though. So, I mean, like, I'm going to tell you, I think later on, when it goes up, I don't think, like, maybe next year or whatever it is, I don't know if I'm going to do silver updates. Because I'm going to let the freaks push it all the way to the freaking roof. Because I'm not going to tell them, I'm not going to tell people it's like getting dangerous. I'm going to let them freaking push it as high as you can go. That's what I'm probably going to do. But, as far as, I forgot there's something else I was going to say, but probably with China. But yeah, there seemed to be some kind of problem with the banks where there was people having problems getting things out of the banks themselves. There was a serious liquidity crunch. I don't know if that's a rumor or what, but there was some story. I was trying to get it off the internet, and it was like the translation page didn't work right or something. I couldn't read the story, but supposedly it was a link to that. So we shall see. And it's really what is probably driving these metals more down than anything. It's a liquidity crunch. People don't have it's like traders trading on margin and stuff, and there's all kinds of problems. They need cash, so they got to sell. They're forcing them to sell. But just like in 2008, 2009, the commodities got hit first, then the equities got hit. Then they announced QE. I don't think QE is going to come into play right away like shift talks. I think it's going to take a little while. But all you have to do is breathe hints that there's going to be more QE, and the markets will recover. But right now, Ben Bernanke's too busy, having a meeting, going to lunch. They're going to let the ship bleed as much as they possibly can. You know they're going to do that. You know that, right? So, anybody who gets into silver, man, it's a wild ride. That's all I'm going to say. It's a wild ride. It's always been that way. Historically, it's always been that way. Commodities in a lot of areas have always been that way. Copper has not been getting hit so much. Oh, this is the other thing I was going to say. I couldn't remember what it was. Do you notice, like, palladium didn't get hit as much in the last year the way silver did? Why is that? This is just a theory, and I know the Russians can move palladium all over the map because they control all kinds of shit. They could dump on a market, bring it down, bring it up, because they really could. I think they control the major supply in the background, even though they say they're running out. But why did palladium not get hit? That's because Ron Paul didn't stick up a palladium coin in front of freaking Ben Bernanke's face and say, "This is money." You jerk. That's what I forgot. That's what I wanted to say. That's what I forgot to say. Oh, I think it has a lot to do with that. Because it's off the freaking radar. And you know what? That's why I got a good amount of palladium in the first place. And I figured they wouldn't think of that shit. It's like, you know what? If they say it's illegal, well, fuck them, man. You know what? Catalytic converters are illegal, right? That's why I got it in the first place. So, anyway, I'm glad there isn't too many palladium cheerleaders out there. Palladium pumpers. And yeah, if it went down to 200, they'd be like saying, "Oh, you're fucking stupid." How do I know it's going to go to 200? You know who's going to know if it went to 200? The Russians. And there ain't shit you can do about it, and there's no way you can predict it on the charts or nothing like that, because they can move the market all over the place, really. The Russians can't. But I think it's being left alone a lot more than the other metals, because there's no palladium physical hoarders or anything like that are trying to say, "I'm buying palladium to fight the power and to fight the Federal Reserve." I'm not buying palladium for that shit. I'm buying palladium because I think the shit's going to be worth more fiat paper, and I'm going to get some more of that stuff.